not going to have any flexion. And then when we know the neurology, what's going to happen to the sympathetics when I take, and the parasympathetics, what's going to happen in that segment of the spine when I take it and fuse it? What's going to happen to proprioception, mechanical reception at those segments? What's going to happen to afferent? How's my body going to even pay attention to all those corresponding segments, let alone viscera, when there's no input? Brain cell, tissue cell. Right? I mean, what good is going to come out of that? Many of those surgeries are cosmetic, right? They're not even, a lot of times you look at some of those people, unless you're with a trained eye, you don't even see that they're that scoliotic, right? And your body's doing a wonderful thing. So, the other reason, which was the whole point of that, is are you committed as a surgeon? In other words, right or wrong, how committed is that doctor in the necessity of that procedure? You know, so we need to get to that same point in the necessity of what we do. Because there's only one healthcare professional that's qualified to identify and correct the vertebral subluxation. Who's that? Chiropractic. That's it. I mean, get used to saying those words. Listen, I'm the only one that's trained and qualified to even identify, let alone correct the what? Subluxation. No one else is. No one else is. No one else has what you have. And then you couple that with philosophy and intention, you change everything. This is a great study, mechanical biology, and it's basically the role of mechanics in cellular activity. So role mechanics play an understanding of the molecular basis of disease. So what we're going to talk about here just briefly is the cytoskeleton and the extracellular matrix, okay, which is what, essentially? Don't all shout it out at once. You guys wait after lunch? You guys drinking wine in there? What's going on? Cytoskeleton and what? What is it? If I look at a cell and I go inside of it, look at it, what does it still need? They have a skeletal structure inside the cell, okay? It's like an architect. Like you've got structure here, right, that holds up. We're inside a cell. Think of yourself inside of a cell right now, right? And you got structures inside the cell that give it shape, or would be this blob. And it's constantly what? Changing, remodeling based upon what? Right, it's reacting and adapting to its position or stresses in position or gravity, right? So altered or mechanical forces which would be what? Give me a mechanical force. Looking at it to you guys in chiropractic.
Gravity.
Gravity. What else? Take gravity and take my body position. That's going to do what? Like by the end of today, you're going to be, how's your posture going to be? I will just told you. What are we thinking? What are we doing? Right, so is that a mechanical force? If I'm like this in front of my computer? Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to get some agreement here. Our key watch. Regulates. Is this a mechanical force? If I'm standing like this, or I'm doing this, or I'm shifted this way, is that a mechanical force? Yes, okay. Our key regulators for cellular what? Biology and what? Gene expression. Which means what? Like take the gene expression, because that's a fancy genetic term, right? Gene expression. What does that mean? Human potential based upon what? What's going to happen in the cell? Yeah, because it's going to what? Your body's transforming, it's rejuvenating, right? There's no such thing as maintenance. Because what? Your body's transforming and rejuvenating itself with what? The intention of what? What's up here? What's your body trying to do? Constantly trying to what? Yeah, well, when it's trying to create itself, right? It's trying to create itself and often recreate itself based upon the initial intention that you were given. Does that make sense? You guys with me? Seriously? Honest to God? Altered cellular mechanics, which would be what? What's an altered cellular mechanics? We just talked about it, which is like a mechanical force. There's your gravity, right? Altered cellular mechanics, gravity is going to affect my posture, which is going to affect what? The pressure upon my cell mechanics resulted in the development of dysfunction, disease, or altered movement, adversely affecting the, so meaning altered movement might be a normal movement or no movement. So take a vertebrae that's subluxated, right? Right? That's my Italian look. Mm-hmm. That's my dad. Mm-hmm. I don't know where I get this stuff until I watch my father. I'm like, oh my God, I just saw my dad. Cell function, cellular organelles, like walking a couple organelles. Mitochondria, right? Energy power centers of the cell, right? And what? We talked about it already. Genetic expression. So is that amazing? I mean, that's a study that's basically talking about posture. It's talking about position. We're not just talking about the vertebrae. What else are we talking about? What about the nerve? What about the cell of the nerve itself that's in the cord or exiting through the root, through the foramina, right? What's happening there? Are they not cells? Are they not under the same effects of position, loss of mobility, pressure? Are they not going to alter their genetic expression? Isn't that going to affect the whole ability of that whole cellular complex neurologically to convey information? Maybe that's why somebody that's subluxated for 20 or 30 years, because now what's the physiology health of the cell at that level? What's the physiology, the hardware of the body at that level? Is it good or bad after 30 years? Right, so I mean the idea that even if today you got in there and adjusted them and you removed the physical aspect of the subluxation, right? What has to happen on the cellular level? Right, it has to regenerate. And many times it's certainly not going to do that in our finite description, right? I mean, I know once in a while you get those people adjusted and they're like, oh my God, everything's gone within one adjustment. But in reality, that's not always how it works, right? Chiropractor recognizes malfunction as the basic cause of an abnormal activity, malfunction as its cause, right? So, you start to try to take the philosophical and metaphysical aspect of what these guys were talking about and put that in today in the science. Because I think when we look at these two studies, this one out of the Annals of Medicine and the other one on the REST-X study, those two studies really, I think, hone in on what it is we're looking at from the vocabulary, the verbiage of science today as a chiropractor, from the scientific standpoint. You guys agree with that? So if you're subluxated, it's going to make your cells what? Healthier or sicker? Sicker. And the cell, when it replicates, is going to be what? The genetic expression or the future replication of that cell is going to be getting healthier or what? And what's aging? What is aging? Well, I don't mean about getting old. What is aging? What's happening to us as time goes by? My body's making a what? Well, right, it's making a copy of a copy of a copy. So if on the copier, if I don't keep taking a copy from the original, what happens to the copy? If I take a copy of the copy, it what? Right, so that's what aging is, right? So obviously the better the copy is to start with, the better what? Next year is going to be, right? And next year is going to be, and next year is going to be. But if I start with something that's slowly degrading, what am I going to do? It's a vicious cycle that's going to rapidly what? Decay and deteriorate, right? Does that make sense? So there's the mechanical aspect, if you will, of subluxation. The REST-X talks about the maximizing human potential, and that's the neurologic aspect, if you will, or the innate, the true philosophy, metaphysical aspect of the subluxation.
Best friend gave me the best advice. He said each day